Now more than ever, I want to make sure that I'm connecting our community of safety professionals with businesses that have awesome products and are awesome people at the same time. Safety Reports is that company. Whether it's inspections, training, JSAs, or monitoring observations and incidents, they have you covered with high quality and easy to use safety applications. So please take a few minutes to hop on their website to learn more at summit.safety-reports.com. It's time we rally around solid companies that provide an awesome product and great service. Again, that's summit.safety-reports.com. All right, welcome back to week 10 of the SSG 2020 Emphasis Program and Emergency Action Planning. Look, there are 100 different directions we could take this large umbrella of a topic, but we only have 3 weeks to uncover what I feel is most pertinent based on our experience dealing with injuries, as well as our experience dealing with OSHA. What I'm focusing on in this video is any field operation that will possibly put you or your employees in a hazardous environment, and therefore what the first aid expectations are for construction-related activities. There are questions we get often, particularly about whether first aid and CPR training is actually required, what types of emergencies you can count on using local emergency medical services for, what contents are required to be in your first aid kit, what am I supposed to do when we're on a new project and there's no physical address to direct medical services to? And what if I have poor cell coverage on my site? All great questions, and all questions I seek to answer for you in this video. Now, quickly, before we hop into this topic, we are brought to you by Safety Consulting Now, an online, on-demand safety training platform that is designed to help you facilitate the OSHA required trainings at your site or facility. It's a great resource for managers, supervisors, and foremen that don't want to be the presenter, but can easily facilitate the discussions with the material on the videos. So you can check that out at training.safetyconsultingnow.com or shoot me an email at jakew@summitsafetygroup.com for a quick web conference where I can walk you through the features of the site. All right, let's get into first aid requirements for field operations. First off, the majority of what we're covering in this video is found in the 1926.50A standard, appropriately titled Construction Expectations for First Aid. Now look, as we talk about this broad topic of emergency action planning, it's important you know how to handle an actual emergency when the emergency itself doesn't go seamlessly. The harsh reality is, people are injured and killed on U.S. job sites every day. These poor people never expected to be seriously injured or killed, and their teammates didn't wake up that morning expecting to have to try and save the life of a buddy at work. So right off the bat, I want to challenge you on the training that's been provided to your team in the field. Have you set them up to succeed in those first few critical moments of an injury or accident? Well, don't just take my word for it, because in 1926.50B, it says provisions shall be made prior to commencement of the project for prompt medical attention in case of serious injury. And in the very next standard, 1926.50C, it says, in the absence of an infirmary, clinic, hospital, or physician that is reasonably accessible in terms of time and distance to the worksite, which is available for the treatment of injured employees, a person who has a valid certificate in first aid training from the U.S. Bureau of Mines, the American Red Cross, or equivalent training can be verified by documentary evidence, shall be available at the work site to render first aid. Now, a few things. As I mentioned in the opening video to emergency action planning, the way that OSHA defines reasonably accessible in terms of time and distance to medical care is found in a 2007 OSHA standard of interpretation that says, although the OSHA standards do not prescribe a number of minutes, OSHA has long interpreted the term near proximity to mean that emergency care must be available within no more than 3 to 4 minutes from the workplace, which is an interpretation that has been upheld by the Occupational Safety and Health Review Commission and by federal courts, aka lawsuits outside of OSHA citations. So look, this starts to get further and further away from any worry about an OSHA citation and starts to draw closer and closer to the reality that when an emergency happens, such as a fall, a heart attack, a stroke, a serious bleed, you name the injury, but minutes literally count, and it's your responsibility as an employer to ensure even a basic level of medical attention is provided. So if you're counting on your injured employee to be kept safe after an accident and are solely relying on emergency medical services to show up, realize this could take several minutes depending on the location of your job site. So long story short, work with us to get an SSG consultant on site to conduct your first aid and CPR training. We do all of our certifications to the National Safety Council, which meets all of the federal requirements of the standard we discussed earlier. And coming back just a bit to the location of your job site, there are a few really important points I need to make here based on the 1926.50 F1 all the way through F2 IIB, and they state the following requirements. In areas where 911 emergency dispatch services are not available, the telephone numbers of the physicians, hospitals, or ambulances shall be conspicuously posted. In areas where 911 emergency dispatch services are available and an employer uses a communication system for contacting necessary emergency medical services, the employer must ensure that the communication system is effective in contacting the emergency medical service, and when using a communication system in an area that does not automatically supply the caller's latitude and longitude information to the 911 emergency dispatcher, the employer must post in a conspicuous location at the worksite, either the latitude and longitude of the worksite or other location identification information that communicates effectively to employees the location of the worksite. The way we recommend doing that is having a spot on your daily job safety analysis that lists the longitude and latitude of your site, and also a spot that lists any non-911 related contact information, especially when you're in a rural area. You could also put this on your site-specific plan, but we prefer the daily JSA because that way it's out in front of your team each and every day. Now, the other point here is that your emergency planning for job sites needs to be pre-planned. If you're just sending men and women out to a site with no consideration to any of these things or procedures, the survival rate of your team can go down dramatically depending on the circumstances, and the severity of the injury can be made worse if medical attention is not received quickly. So be sure you have a plan, that you have trained workers on site at every project you're working, and that you have an intentional connection between emergency medical services and each of your projects. One other quick note about emergency medical services. You cannot use the fire department as your primary rescue team for anything. This means for fall rescue, confined space rescue, electrical shock, anything. You must provide your own trained rescue team and have employees that are trained in first aid and CPR, especially with those specific exposures. And to wrap this up, you also need to ensure you have the appropriate first aid kit for the hazards your team is exposed to. In 1926.50 D2, it states the contents of the first aid kit shall be placed in a weatherproof container with individual sealed packages for each type of item and shall be checked by the employer before being sent out on each job and at least weekly on each job to ensure that the expended items are replaced. Now, there's quite a bit there, and I'm almost certain most contractors don't do it. And to add to that, there are even more requirements under the ANSI ISEA Z308.1-2015 that establishes minimum performance requirements for first aid kits and their supplies. First aid kits are classified based on the assortment and quantity of first aid supplies intended to deal with most types of injuries and sudden illnesses that may be encountered in the workplace. These may include major and minor wounds, minor burns, sprains and strains, and eye injuries. As each work environment is unique, it is expected that the contents of each kit will be supplemented as needed based upon the recommendations of a person competent in first aid. So please reach out to your SSG consultant to get help with ensuring you have the right first aid kit at your sites. Here's a quick overview of what you might need. All right, last point I want to cover is in 1926.50G, where it states, where the eyes or body of any person may be exposed to injurious corrosive materials, suitable facilities for quick drenching or flushing of the eyes and body shall be provided within the work area for immediate emergency use. So this means you need to have some sort of portable eye wash station that is designed to deliver fluid to both eyes simultaneously at a volume of not less than 1.5 liters a minute or 0.4 gallons a minute. For, get this part, up to at least 15 minutes of flow. So having the appropriate eye wash is critical depending on the exposures you and your subs have on site. All right, that wraps up this week's emphasis on first aid expectations for construction-related activities, which of course occur in emergency situations. So if you have any questions on this material, please reach out to your SSG consultant or myself at jakew@summitsafetygroup.com, and we will do everything we can to help you out. And quickly, if you haven't had your team or your subs trained on first aid and CPR, reach out to us right away and we can get you scheduled and get you compliant. More importantly, you're getting your team prepared for medical emergencies and how to handle them. With that, I'm Jake Wolfenden with Summit Safety Group and Safety Consulting Now, and I will see you next week.